so much for being with us through the first 8 episodes of this podcast. I plan on doing plenty more, and I want you to please stay close. Make sure you're downloading, subscribing, and sharing and advocating as we continue to try to build this army and make a change in the pediatric cancer community. I came in today, and I've actually been in here for a little while trying to decide what it is I was going to talk about this week. To be honest, we're very busy with planning of our gala, of our second annual Gold Time Masquerade on August 26th to raise money for the Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation, which we will be donating 100% of the proceeds to that organization to hopefully bring an end to childhood brain tumors and brain cancer as we know it today. We are so far just over $21,000 raised, and we're so close to that goal. If you can't donate, but you sure as hell are welcome to be there at our gala, please go and check our website at battlecorncarepackages.com. Check on the very top link. That's our link to the gala. You can get all the information about hotels, about donations, about tickets, anything you need to know. And as always, our contact information is there. Please reach out if you have any questions, if you'd like to help us get to that goal, or if you would just like to come and hang out with us. Please let us know. We'd love to answer your questions, and we'd love to see you all there. So as I was trying to figure out what I wanted to talk about, I have looked over a list of topics that I have, and I was going through my brain trying to figure out what I wanted to speak about this week. And to be honest with you, I'm not really sure how this is going to go. I want to get an episode out there for you. I've toyed with the idea of just not doing one, but you deserve it. The people that have stuck with me, the subscribers that I have that have paid attention to all my podcasts and have stuck with me through the first 8 episodes, you deserve an episode, and we're going to put something together for you here today. Now, what I've decided to talk about is kind of unique to our story, I guess, in the sense that our daughter was diagnosed in 2020. And if everybody remembers what was going on in 2020, that was the beginning, the immediate beginning of COVID starting to get into the States. We were in the hospital January of 2020, came home February 12th, and in March, the whole world shut down. The whole world shut down. We went to virtual school. You couldn't go out. You weren't supposed to go to work. Essential workers were the only ones allowed to go to work, which that's a whole other situation to talk about. You had, mail service was never really affected, but at the same time, it was affected because a lot of carriers and a lot of postal workers and service workers and things like that were out with COVID. So life for us changed on multiple levels when it came to a cancer diagnosis, to COVID, to travel restrictions, work restrictions. All of that made for incredible time to actually end up having a child be diagnosed with pediatric brain cancer. Now, when we came home, we still didn't know what was going on. We weren't sure what was going to happen, but we knew that because she was coming home and she needed to be taken care of very, very carefully, because we were still not sure of the exact diagnosis when we came home, or we were sure of the exact diagnosis, but we weren't sure of the treatment plan yet. We didn't know what it was going to entail. So we kept her very close to us. We definitely were accused a lot of the times of isolating our family and shutting everybody else out. And the truth is, yes, we absolutely did. We isolated JC from the rest of the world. Once we did have her in school, obviously it was for a very short amount of time before everything was shut down due to COVID. And once that happened, we took it seriously. We kept her home. We kept her in the house. We did not let people come over. We did not go anywhere with her. We did not take any unnecessary risks at that time because we did not know what to expect with COVID. We also did not know what to expect with this cancer treatment. We didn't know what to expect with any of it. So we took it extremely seriously. And yes, we absolutely felt guilty that we couldn't have family around. We couldn't go to family events, family functions. We could not take her out and let her hang out with her friends. We couldn't let her go and do things that she normally would do. But we were under the impression that this was a very, very serious disease, a very, very serious problem, and we needed to be careful. And we were overly careful. We put a sign on our front door that stated that if you had any deliveries, to leave them outside. We put a sign on the front door that said, if you're coming over here and we didn't invite you, please give us a call and text us and let us, and we'll decide if we're going to, have anybody around. my dad came to visit from Florida, and we stood in the garage. Well, he stood in the driveway. We took it seriously. Everybody knows those images of having, birthday parties, with glass in between, or hugging somebody in between with plastic in between. We took things seriously because we didn't know, with her having a compromised immune system, with her being recently out of the hospital from multiple brain surgeries, we wanted to make sure that she was absolutely as safe as possible. So we took isolation very seriously, and it was detrimental, I think, to her mental health. It was detrimental to our mental health, because you're supposed to let your kids thrive and let them play and be children and be with their friends, and with, we had neighbors, and we wanted they should have been able to go over there and play and have a good time. And yet we were all stuck in the house watching TV, not, having food delivered from time to, like, not going out and being able to live our normal lives. That is something that I think we live with every single day. Yes, we could not control it. This was an uncontrollable circumstance that we couldn't, that, my wife and I couldn't fix. It was something that there's nothing we could do about it. But we had to take all the precautions necessary, even if they were overprotective. And we were absolutely accused of being overprotective and not allowing people to come over that we normally would allow. Hey, come on over, let's have family dinner, let's have this, that, and the other. No, we didn't do that because we didn't feel safe. We didn't know what would happen. And at the time, JC was supposed to go through, we finally got her treatment plan, and it was all radiation. And then we weren't going to do chemo, but then she ended up having to do chemo at the end of the year. And when we went through that, it was the same thing. We kept her isolated from everybody else. From time to time, we would go out and we would be very careful. We would come in just to kind of get out of the house and move around. But there's a definite feeling inside that you're taking away your child's ability to be a kid. You're taking away your child's ability to just be themselves, and have a good time and grow up, and so many other factors. But we did what we thought we had to do. Whether or not you believed COVID was as serious as it was, or we were told it was, we couldn't take the risk of blowing off anything for personal feelings, or blowing it off for other people's personal feelings. We couldn't take that risk. We had to be as protective and as careful as absolutely possible. And I think a lot of people, if you were going through this same type of diagnosis at this same time frame, even if it was a year later, the restrictions were still very high when it came to hospitals and leaving your house, going to work, things like that. And so you can understand, you can relate to the fact that this is what we were all feeling. I, being a employee with the Postal Service, we didn't shut down. We delivered straight through everything. We had very high restrictions of, gloving and masking in the office and things like that. We had people out on COVID, multiples at a time for weeks at a time throughout the entire pandemic, and it was very tough. And when I would come home, the first thing that I would do is I would take my uniform, I would take my shoes, my belt, anything like that, and I would sanitize them. I had a bucket, and I'd put it all in there. My clothes, I would put it in the washer right away and sanitize it, and then I would shower before I ever came in and said hi to anybody, so to minimize the risk of bringing anything home, especially to my immunocompromised daughter. And I did everything that I could, and luckily she never got sick. I never got sick. My wife, my kids, and my wife, we never got sick from COVID. Not until probably it was a while after our daughter passed that I think I finally caught it, and my wife did. But during that time, we never did, and we were very fortunate that she never contracted it, and she was never affected by it. That was something that I think we were proud of, because we did what we had to do. We did have a lot of people, mainly our family, that were kind of angry with us, or even mad at us, because we would not allow them to be close to us or close to JC at that time. And we had a very select, a few people that we would allow in to our home, or allow close to us and allow close to her, with precautions, because we trusted certain people and we trusted their understanding of what we were going through. And other people, we just decided, you know what, it's time. We just have to stay as far away as possible because we don't want anything to happen unnecessarily. We have enough on our plate. We have enough that we're dealing with cancer and with all the treatments and things like that. We can't afford to have something like COVID or some other disease, the flu, whatever, come in and screw up everything that she has fought so hard to get through at this point. So, as a parent, COVID and restrictions, disease, that, we cannot control that. It is out of our control. And as a parent, I think everybody understands that we want to be in control. We want to be the ones that decide how to take care of our kids and how to protect them and make sure that everything they do in life is the right thing and that they get through life unscathed. That's our goal. That's our purpose. That's our mission. That's our job. Things like COVID, we could not protect them from. We could not stop it from coming into this country. We couldn't stop it from coming into our neighborhoods, into our houses. We had to do the best we could to protect our children and our families in the event that it got close enough to infect them. Like I said, we got lucky. We got lucky that it never came into the house while JC was fighting, while she was sick. Even when we were in the hospital, when we were in for her stem cell transplant, we were there for 52 days. She never got sick with it, even though there was a rash of a couple different sicknesses that went through the pediatric unit when I was there. And what I will say is that when something went down there, they shut the place down. Nobody in, nobody out until it was considered clean and everything was good. But going through a diagnosis like this and going through a time like this when the world is essentially shut down, it stopped us from being able to do a lot of things. We were supposed to go to Disney that year. That was supposed to be the big year. We went to Disney before our oldest daughter started high school, kind of a last hurrah before she started high school. And we essentially were told we shouldn't travel because she was just starting treatments and it wouldn't be good for her to have an immune system that is low or non-existent, to be traveling by air, to be at a theme park, things like that. It wouldn't be a good idea. So we put it on hold. And when we put it on hold, little did we know that it was a good thing because the whole world was put on hold and there was no traveling, there was no Disney, there was nothing. As a matter of fact, she was supposed to get a Make-A-Wish too, and there was no traveling Make-A-Wishes. So she did something else that she really wanted. And that was something that, those things you see now, those changed us in a way that we can't go back and fix. I mean, I would not want to see my daughter go through the pain and everything with his cancer treatments, with the diagnosis. I wouldn't want to see her go through it again. However, if I was given that decision and she had to go through it again, I would have her go through it in a time when the world wasn't shut down, when the world was as normal and crazy as it is now, and we're able to we're back in control. The parents are in control, and she's able to be a kid. She's able to go to school. She's able to, be around her friends. She's able to be around family. We're able to be at family functions, at, holidays. We're able to do all that. And people are there to be able to share in her strength and share in her fight and actually be there to kind of, guide her or maybe support her a little bit more. And I don't think it would have made a difference in the outcome, but I definitely would think it would have made a difference in her mental health. I know that when school was shut down, or even when it came back and she really wasn't strong enough, or it wasn't really safe for her to be in school, she hated it. She hated being home all the time and having to be responsible for schoolwork. She hated watching. When she did the school online, she would turn the camera off. She didn't like to see everybody there. She didn't like to do that because she couldn't be with them. When all of this was going on, she loved school. I was very excited about school. And when all of this happened so quickly for her and she lost that ability to go back to school, I think it definitely had a huge, massive negative effect on her mental health at such a young age, um, to not really understand why this is happening to her or why she's not able to be around her friends and her family. And it's the unfortunate side of it is that the isolation, and this is where the guilt comes in, right? The isolation of her from her friends, from our families, from her school work, the isolation's on us. We chose, once schools were back in session and things like that, we chose to keep her home. We chose to make sure that she was around us in a safe place that we had provided, and she had everything she needed to, to be happy, but she didn't have her friends. And that's where I think the guilt comes in for us, is that we feel horrible. And I and I can speak for my wife. I think we have a lot of regret when it comes to the way that Jace's treatment went and the way that the decisions that we made, things like that. Not that the decisions we made took her from us, but I think we have a lot of regret in the fact that we couldn't fix it and that we couldn't make her happier or make her more comfortable, like, if that makes sense. Um, I think that she was a genuinely happy child, and even when she was going through everything, she still made it known that she was a happy kid. Um, and she just liked to make other people happy and other people smile. That was her. That was her personality. And um, it's never it's never going to get any easier for us when it comes to how we feel about how things went down. It's never going to get any easier when it comes to how we feel about how she was treated. We feel every single day that she got what she needed, but maybe it should have been done in a different way. Now, you will play that what if game, um, and it's a very hard game to play, and there's really no winner, and it definitely kind of makes you feel over and over again like you made mistakes, or you make decisions that you maybe would have made you made differently now if you knew more. But unfortunately, you can't go back and change the past. All I can do for the future is continue to share our stories and hope that it makes a difference in somebody's life, or it makes a difference to the point where you can relate and say, you know what, that makes sense. Let me try something differently. Let our perceived mistakes or our perceived guilt make a difference in your life. And if that's what it does, then I think that that's mission complete for some of these stories that I'm sharing on this podcast. But COVID made a huge difference in all of our lives. Everybody was affected differently. Like I said, I wasn't out of work, but we were forced to work through all of it. Never had a break. Never had a chance to stop, take a breath, and maybe make changes in the way we did things. And that forced me to be extremely careful when it came time to come home. And like I said, I would put my uniform in the washer. I would sanitize it. I'd sanitize my shoes, my belt, all my stuff, and I would shower before I ever touched my kids, before I ever gave him a hug and said hello. I would all that, especially the fact that JC was going through these treatments. I wanted to make sure there was no possibility that I would get her sick or make it worse. Um, isolation. Isolation was something that we obviously, the whole country was under an isolation order. The state was under an isolation order. We chose as a family to isolate. We chose as a family to make sure that nobody else was around us at the time that JC was going through these treatments, mainly because we didn't want to take a risk. So we took isolation to a whole new level. The guilt. The guilt is that we couldn't give JC what she needed when it came to her friends and her family and life outside of the house, life outside of a hospital, because it just wasn't safe. Um, if your child is going through these treatments, and if they're there's someone that doesn't understand what chemo does. Chemotherapy is really meant, I call it a bulldozer. It's really meant to go in, bulldoze everything, good and bad, and let your body build up the immunities again, build up the white blood cells, the red blood cells, build up the good and the bad to help fight off the cancer, to help fight off what is harming you. And by doing that, what it does is it takes any type of protection you have from a common cold, from the flu, from COVID, from any of it. It takes any protection that you have and it's gone. It's like taking your eyelids off and just leaving your eyes open all the time. They're going to dry out. They're going to, you know what I mean? It's like there's no protection there. There's nothing. And when you're going through that, we had to make the ultimate sacrifice of the physical touch and being around other people and hugs and all that kind of stuff with family and friends. We had to, because we had to make sure that she was safe. And it meant that a lot of things were missed. It meant that a lot of things we were not included because we couldn't be. It meant that that's part of what we regret, is that we took those opportunities and those days and those times and those feelings away from her, and we can't give those back. Now, in my heart, and I think in my wife's heart, I think we know that she doesn't hold us responsible for that. We did what we had to do in the moment. But at the same time, it doesn't help with the feeling of guilt or the feeling of resentment for COVID and for however it started and how it got here and how it was handled. It doesn't help any of that because we lost so much time. 520 days she went through these treatments, and we lost all that time to be able to travel, to be able to watch her be part of school groups or play or to have her first sleepover. We lost all that time because of this, and because we were stuck up in our house with the doors shut and the windows shut, and not being able to leave, not being able to interact with the world. It made for a very hard year and a half. And we complain like we're not here. But JC, who is in heaven now, you could tell that it frustrated her. You could tell that it made her mad. You could tell that it got to the point where she hated school. This is our daughter. She loved going to school. She loved her friends. She loved everything about it. And it got to the point where she hated it because it wasn't the same, because her school was virtual. She wasn't there with her friends. She was seeing them on a computer screen that she wouldn't even turn the camera on anymore because she didn't want to look at it. It got to the point where she just hated school. She just didn't want to do it. As a matter of fact, there's still work. Every now and again we go through folders and files and stuff that are stuffed in the back of a cabinet or something like that of work that she was supposed to do and never did, or work that she did and we never turned in. She just hated it. It wasn't right to her, and it didn't feel right. And the fact that her sisters were going to school made it even worse, because it meant this isn't fair. Why am I different? And I think, all in all, I think today's story or today's journey can relate to a lot of people, especially if you're doing that. And now the isolation part, I think, can relate to a lot, especially when your child is immunocompromised. They're going through maybe high dose treatments, relapse treatments, things like that tend to be a lot more aggressive. And that aggression removes a child's ability to fight off anything, a cold, a flu, COVID, whatever. It removes their ability to fight that off. And unfortunately, that means if they catch it, it can be very bad. And so I think you can relate to that. If your child was diagnosed during this time and you were in the same boat as us, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If your child has passed And again, we're stuck with this isolation and guilt. You understand what I'm saying. And I feel like that's the best way that I can um, relay all this information, is that you can see what I'm feeling, what we felt, how we felt, and you can put that into perspective as to why you might see a parent like me um, angry or depressed or even um, maybe resentful, things like that, and not of other families, but of the situations and what we were put through and what got in our way on top of the cancer and on top of the diagnosis and treatment, but what clouded the way we were able to do anything with our family and do anything with JC to keep her away from this isolation, to keep her away from the depression. Um, Before I close out today, she did end up going on depression drugs after her stem cell transplant, because they thought that was a problem. She was depressed. Um, she was sad because we were in the hospital for so long, away from family for so long. Um, and then she ended up, like I said, she had a seizure, and we had to go back. And it wasn't that was not what it was. She may have been sad, she may have been depressed, but it wasn't to the point that she needed to be put on medication. But it definitely affected her in a way that she did not think that was fair, and she did not think was right. And even at 8 years old, she knew damn well that what she was going through and what she was feeling, she knew it. She knew what it felt like. She knew what she couldn't really voice it to us very well, but she knew. She knew what was going on. And these kids are so incredibly smart and so incredibly um, uh, in tune with how they're feeling and what they're going through, that they can absolutely express that to you. The only thing that limits them in 6, 7, 8 years old is vocabulary, but they know what's happening. And so I hope that today's story, and again, I said that in the beginning that I wasn't really sure what I was going to talk about today. And a lot of times before these podcasts, I've got a notepad or something like that, and I'll have an idea or something will kind of pop into my head that makes me want to create a whole episode around it. And I think that I can relate to a lot of people based on a word. If I hear a sermon or a statement in church or something like that, and I'm thinking, you know what, that makes sense. Um, that was kind of the essence behind last week's episode of representing reality. Was that, we, depending on who you are as a person, and you may see us differently, or you may treat us differently based on our experiences and based on what you think that we need as people because of what we've gone through. But to kind of talk about, a future episode or something like, is that you'll never know what I need as a person or as a father in this situation unless you've been through it. I don't need people to wonder what I need or to question, what I need. I just need people to listen to what I'm saying, want to be there, want to give me the support that I'm asking for, and want to offer up the guidance and friendship and companionship of just being friends and just being good, genuine humans. That, I think, is going to make the biggest difference when it comes to how, we continue to survive and thrive in this world without our daughter, and how other families are going to continue to thrive is by having people that are genuine in their lives, people that are as genuine as these kids are, people that are as genuine as their hearts and their souls, and want to be there for them and want to be there to be that strength that these children have instilled in all of us. So if you're listening to this podcast, you do not have a child that is battling cancer, or direct correlation to or connection to pediatric cancer, thank you for listening, and thank you for giving me the time to speak to you about a personal story And I will share so many more if you just hang out with us and subscribe and like. If you're going through treatments right now, or your child is going through a relapse right now, just understand that our family is there for you. Our family is always available. You can contact us in so many ways, whether through the podcast comments, the comments on YouTube, the comments on our website, our Facebook, social media. It's all there. If you have had a child that's passed, first of all, I want to say our deepest and sincerest condolences to you and your family. I know that this is not a situation that you're ever going to be able to fully get over or get through. You're always going to have in the back of your mind, what could I have done more? What could I have done better? Understand that our family is also there for you. We love you. We will definitely always be in your corner. Your child will be an inspiration to us and so many others. And on a side note, what I want to say is anybody that's listening, I mentioned we do have a gala coming up at the end of August, so we're a month away from our gala here in Appleton, Wisconsin. We're looking to raise $25,000 for Pediatric Brain Tumor Foundation. We're going to donate 100% of the proceeds. Everything we've raised so far, all the way up through that event, we are donating to them with the hopes of ending childhood brain cancer and brain tumors as the way they are seen today. Get the research in there that makes a difference in how they're treated and how they're diagnosed. If you would like, number one, to donate, if you'd like to come to the gala, tickets and donation links are on our website at battlecorncarepackages.com. If you would like to have your child featured, if your child has passed and you would like to have them featured in our angel video at our gala, please reach out to us through our website. We have a general contact form, or you can message us through Facebook, Battlecorn Care Packages. Look it up, and you can message us and let us know you want to have your child featured in our angel video. You have to send me a picture, send me their diagnosis, their birth date, and the date of their passing, and I will make sure to have those included. And I'll make sure to let you know where to find the video after the gala if you can't attend. I will post it on multiple social medias, on YouTube, and I'll make sure that everybody can see it. So this week, I want to say thank you all again for sticking with me through. This is now 9 episodes. If you've made it to the end, I've got so many other things out there. If you'd like to listen, or if you'd like to come up with another idea, or you have something you'd like to talk about, if you'd like me to answer a question, if you've got a specific question about brain cancer, about the type of cancer my daughter had, choroid plexus carcinoma, about our organization, Battlecorn Care Packages, events that we host, legislation that we're passing, SB 112 here in Wisconsin, please reach out, and I would love to make episodes talking about all of that stuff and making sure that I get the content out there that you want to hear. So thank you guys so much, and I appreciate all of you for sticking around this long and listening to me talk. Love you guys.